Jules Sullivan,
Yes.
welcome to The Growth Concept.
Thanks so much, Keone. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for coming down, Jules.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward for this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
What is it you do and what are you passionate about right now?
You're about to get a very long answer to a very short question.
That's good. Let's hear it. Let's hear the
Right.
story.
So what I do, I am a wellbeing coach and a wellbeing leadership coach and trainer. So, I have a background in psychology and human resources. I've spent about over 25 years in workplace wellbeing.
Wow.
Started out in workers' compensation, injury management. So I had no idea at that time what I was actually learning about leadership. So, working with individuals who had just really hit the rough stuff, significant injuries, mental health issues, chronic illness, and working really closely with their line managers and with business leaders to help maintain them in the workplace or return or, redirect whatever it was.
Wow.
So, yeah, and it was a career that I kind of fell into. I followed my ex-husband was in the mining industry, and we moved around a bunch of different regional towns around Australia, amazing experiences, and that work was always available because you had to have qualifications and all that kind of jazz. So I always felt that I'd kind of just fallen into it. I never really felt as though it was a career path that I got to choose, and I think because of that I didn't appreciate it as much. And we moved back to Perth, 12 years ago now, and I had opportunities to move into more senior management positions. And I also had an opportunity then to really to do a little bit more navel gazing. What actually, if I want to do something different, what is it? What actually drives me? What am I passionate about? What feeds my soul, fills my bucket? All of those cliches.
Love that.
And I realised there was actually a lot in it that I really got a lot out of. And one of my favourite things is working with someone who is in a tough spot. Not that I love that they're in a tough spot, but when you can connect with someone and you've provided enough of that safe space that they can just fully let loose and let you know exactly what's going on for them. And then when you're able to work with them over a period of time and you see the light come back into their eyes and you see...
Wow.
Yeah, right? That is the most amazing feeling. And so that's a really large part of it. And I've forgotten the rest of the question. But how I came to be doing what I'm doing is essentially through a series of life events. So I thought that I was living this authentic life and doing all the things that I was called to do. And actually I'd been playing it really safe. Playing
it safe?
Yeah.
In what sense?
I wasn't playing it safe in one way, in that I was the first person in my family to go to university. Excuse me. But it was just kind of a given. I went to school, I did okay at school, I went to university, I met a man, I got married, I had kids, I followed him around the country, and all of that was amazing, and I had phenomenal experiences and wouldn't change any of it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't being as me as I could be, maybe is the best way to put it.
Were you fulfilled?
No. In some ways, yes. I don't think I realised that I was unfulfilled. So there was a lot about what I was doing that I enjoyed, but I did... This is such a good question. I haven't thought about it in this way before. Nice one. I didn't really know what I was missing, but there were definitely a lot of times when I was looking at the work that I was doing and going, did I really choose this? Would I choose this again? Is this really what I want to do with the rest of my career? But having said that, it was also very fulfilling. Really fulfilling.
Wow, okay. I'm trying to understand the route and the spectrum that you've had.
Yeah.
So playing it safe, but you weren't sure if it was fulfilling personally for you.
Yeah.
How did you realise that this wasn't right? Was there a feeling inside, or did you have a mentor or something?
Look, I have had a number of different mentors over the years. I've also seen psychologists at different times. Illnesses with family members, personal challenges, postnatal depression, those sorts of things. And of course, having a psychology background. Yeah. So look, I've had a few kind of informal mentors, a couple of great ones actually. Now that I think about it, and I've seen a number of psychologists over the years. Whether it's been personal challenges or supporting family with different things, or workplace stress or, postnatal depression, things like that. And, of course, having a psychology background, that's something that I'm very open to.
Yeah.
And I personally would love to see people access supports earlier. It's part of what I'm very passionate about, I'll come back to. But I think in the end, really what happened was I've been saying to people ever since I was very young, and I feel a little bit hypocritical now, but, the universe, if you should or shouldn't be doing something, will give you a little tap on the shoulder. And if you don't pay attention, it'll hit you a bit harder. And if you don't pay attention, it'll slap you upside the head. If you really don't pay attention, it's going to run a bus over you. And that's essentially what happened, right?
Wow.
So we moved around a lot. I came back to Perth. I got into management roles. I had a couple of roles where my values were absolutely not aligned with key people in the business, and I was miserable. There was a lot in what I was doing that I loved. I loved leading people. I loved being the buffer between other managers and the people that I was supporting who were supporting others, because I knew firsthand how important that was. And then eventually I had a fairly quick succession of things. So I went through quite significant burnout and I was unable to work for about 6 months. Spent a few months just sort of dipping my toe into contract work, seeing what kind of lit me up. Is this an opportunity? What do I want to do from here? Did some stuff doing that I really enjoyed. I had a family member then who was really quite seriously ill for a long while, so I was supporting them. And I ended up leaving my job, and then my marriage fell apart. We've been together for 25 years. And that happened at January 2020, so right when COVID hit. So we lived together for most of 2020 in the family home.
Yeah.
That was the closest thing that ever put me in a hospital somewhere. It was amazing because it forced us to learn how to communicate in this new paradigm that we were in. But oh my goodness. And then really the crux of it came, I moved out of the family home into my own place. I remember very clearly, moved in on the 26th of November 2020, and on the 28th I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So, and within like 3 weeks I was having surgery. So for the next 2.5 years, I was living, for the next probably year and a half, 2 years, I was living in a home that was full of boxes and rubbish from the family home that had come into my small place. And look, it wasn't as bad a treatment process as I know a lot of people go through, but it was unexpected. It was worse than what they originally told me it was, and so I ended up having 2 surgeries, chemo, radiation, and I was exhausted. It's and we all go through stuff in life. That was the closest. It was the most broken down I've been, and the glimmer in that, the silver lining, is I'd always wanted to do further training. I'd thought about doing clin-psych training or something like that.
What's clin-psych training?
Clinical psychology.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So going and doing my postgraduate studies, doing registration. But at that point, I was in my late 40s. I just divorced, so I couldn't afford to stop working, so it was part-time, all too much. Long story short, I hit upon life coaching, and I found a course that I really respected. I could see very clearly the psychological concepts that I was familiar with and the evidence bases involved in that, and so I did that training. And as a part of doing that training, I of course went through life coaching, and it taught me so much and helped me to break down so many limiting beliefs, so many things that I believed to be true about myself that actually weren't.
Wow.
And I think the most valuable thing that came out of that was at a time when I was going through a huge grief process. I had just got to the point where I figured out that I loved Jules. She was a pretty cool chick, right? She was great fun. She had loads of energy. She was passionate. And then I lost her. And so at a time when I had shed loads of energy, like when I was used to having shed loads of energy, and all of a sudden I had like a thimbleful.
Was this during your sickness?
This was during my treatment, yeah. So I learned through that process, through understanding my values, through understanding the things that really drive me, that even with my thimble full of energy, I could target that at the things that I valued most, and so I could still live a fulfilling and happy life. It was a slog for a few years, and that's where all of what I do now was born from,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's break. I think the key turning point that I've observed hearing that was definitely the separation and moving into a new house. Yeah, the separation sucked, but I got a place now. But to top it off, COVID, boom, and then now cancer. That must have been so stressful for you.
Fair to say. Fair to say. And,
how did you cope with this? Because you were saying that you were like maxed out, you were burnt out.
Absolutely.
How did you keep pushing through and just didn't bite the bullet and just quit?
That is such an amazing question, and I think you've used a key phrase there that I have taken years and years and years to overcome, and that was the pushing. So one of the things that happened shortly after my treatment and during all the fatigue was I was diagnosed with ADHD.
Just on top of it.
Right, yeah. Because I'd lived this very, very full, very busy, very active, lots of exercise life, and that helps manage, ADHD symptoms beautifully. And then all of that fell away, and it just went blah. And I realised that because I'd always had this energy and my brain had always had a need for so much stimulation, I was always pushing. There was never downtime. I did stuff I loved, but even when I was doing stuff that I loved, it was like netball, playing centre court and like running, pushing, smashing, rah, rah, yeah, kicking them, rah.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was very much about being more than pushing. Allowing things to come a little more naturally, paying a little bit more attention to how I was feeling when I was doing something, to being more present in the moment. I'd always been very good at connecting with people, but I think I've become even better about doing that consciously, and being conscious of who I spend time with, being conscious of people who might sometimes give advice or offer suggestions. And I had an amazing clinical psychologist, a chick I worked with years ago, frame that to me as, when people do that, they're offering you a gift. And they might be being passive-aggressive. They might actually be trying to tell you something that is designed to make you feel bad. And if you're present enough to assess that, you can go, well, in your head, thank you so much for that gift. You can actually keep that one.
Yeah.
So just being a lot more conscious of my energies, the way that they were used, and the things that I was using my energies for, and not pushing so hard, because I actually couldn't in the end. The minute I pushed myself in any way, I would hit the wall again.
When you say you couldn't and you've hit the wall, help me understand what this felt like.
Yeah, thank you. Cool question. It took me a while to recognise the early indicators. The first indicator I would notice is when I get really overtired, like tank is empty and I'm still going, and for me as a parent, that was often something I would do. I wasn't good at asking for help. I could be knackered, I could be sick, and I'd be standing at the kitchen cooking, and there could be someone else sitting in the lounge room, but I wouldn't ask for help because I'd go to, and then I'd be like, really? All I've got to do is chop the potatoes. I can do that. What's the big deal? It was harder to ask for help than just do the thing. And so when I would reach the point where I was physically, emotionally, mentally exhausted, and when I get up to walk around and I'm crying, I'm a bit tired. When I can't do anything, when I'm okay lying down, if I stand up and try to walk around or do something, I'm bawling my eyes out. That was my body.
And you couldn't control anything?
No, that was enough. That's it. That is the end of line.
Wow.
Lie down, rest. And someone also said to me years ago, when you're doing something, when you're connecting with clients, don't give them 100%. You've got to keep something for yourself. So it's like keep 20% for yourself.
Right.
And so the phrase that I use now to almost anybody that will listen is just because you can doesn't mean you should. So I might be capable of going out at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night and cleaning up all the palm fronds that have fallen down in the garden. But does that mean I should? That's extra energy, that's rest that's going to do me so much better for tomorrow. I'm going to be better off if I actually leave it. It's not going anywhere. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I really like that. Yeah.
How do we draw the line between this? Because I can really relate with you. I'm not diagnosed ADHD, but I think there's enough to be able to tell.
Your energies are pretty high.
Just 100% all day, every day, doesn't matter.
Go. Yeah, it's wonderful.
How do we gauge this? Okay, well, now's enough. Because I feel like with our ADHD brains,
we'll keep going.
It's never like, okay, pause time, it's rest. That's boring. How do we draw the line?
kind of love these questions. You really are. You're doing what you should be doing. I think, first things first, everybody's line is different. Everybody's line is different. 100%. It's massively different. To use an example, working with people, something I've done for almost 30 years now. Longer if you count customer service and retail for a decade before that, right? Since I was 14. So for me, one of the big things is being able to create enough space and empathise with someone enough that the connection is there, that I can see them, hear them, they're safe, but I'm not jumping in the sinking ship with them. I am no good to them if I am taking on all of their feels, and I can no longer be impartial and guide them through what they need to go through. So from an interpersonal perspective, I have had to learn where that balance is for me. And I've spoken to staff and other professionals about that a lot. I think in life, what it comes back to a lot really is that self-awareness and a little bit of presence. I talk a lot about whenever we're coming into doing something. So for me, coming to speak to you today, what do I want that to be like? What do I want that experience to be like for you? What do I want that to feel like for me? And I can't control how you feel, but I can choose to come to this in a certain frame of mind that makes that outcome more likely. And it takes a split second, right? And it's all the well-being stuff too. I talk about the same thing. When you are walking between places, when you're getting up from your desk to go to the toilet and you've just finished a task, when you're about to have breakfast, super quick check-in, how am I? Are my shoulders up? Am I breathing shallow? Am I worried about things? Is my brain racing? And just noticing your body's natural homeostasis and equilibrium will often adjust those things a little bit naturally.
Wow.
So it's about recognising where we are to begin with. Sorry, yeah.
I feel like my mind's just been blown. I don't think
Why?
I don't think I've ever asked myself in the moment, like, am I okay or am I...
Yeah, what state am I in?
What state? Am I happy? Am I exhausted?
How's my body? How's my brain? How are my muscles? Where are my emotions at?
What will happen if I start asking these questions more often? Like, make it a habit?
Yep. Haven't been asked that question before. A number of things, I think, and I can only really base this on personal experience and people that I've coached.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that happens over time is you build up a bank of knowledge. I think you gain more insight into maybe the states that you naturally tend towards. And I think when you do that, if we come back to how do you find your line, that's one of the biggest benefits is when you start to recognise the states that you're in, and maybe you might even start to connect that to when you find your flow, when you find you're really productive, when you find that energies are natural and blah, blah. And I think when you start to recognise those things, you can maybe find little ways to tweak it and get yourself into that state. And I will say that alongside of that, another thing that happens, I think, is in that presence, you get to really appreciate moments that you're in, like this. And those connections that you make with people just become all the stronger, nature becomes all the brighter, all those things.
Yeah, 100%.
And the ADHD brain is amazing at that, right? And I will say, I think some of the other things that can happen is that you can actually become aware of stuff that you might not like very much. Maybe there are feels or emotions or states that are uncomfortable. And what I would say to that is it's challenging and depending the severity, so I'm not necessarily talking about people who might have post-traumatic stress disorder or traumatic experiences, but for the majority of us, I think it takes practice to actually go, like, what is that? What is that? And we don't necessarily have to label it. It sometimes is helpful to go, I'm a bit uptight, I'm a bit wired, maybe anxious, maybe sad, maybe flat, whatever, and not why. Why actually doesn't matter. Why actually doesn't matter. Sometimes, and we go, I've just done this, or I've had no sleep for a week. Maybe I should sleep. But I think when we can observe our own state without judgment, I'm feeling a bit wired, and that's bad. I'm feeling a bit wired, or I'm feeling a bit stressed, and that's okay. Then we create space for it, like we might for someone that we're working with and talking to who's going through some stuff. We create space for it and it will pass. Nothing's forever. Whatever it is, it'll pass. And I think through that presence and just those tiny little nanosecond check-ins, we actually get better at seeing our stuff and working through our stuff as well.
I love that point. So if I ask myself this question and I'm like, I'm on the brinks of burnout, like I'm tired constantly, I'm getting 7 hours of sleep, but I'm still wake up exhausted.
Yep.
Go to work, come home, just absolutely cooked.
Yep.
And I've asked myself this question. I'm like, okay, I'm getting tired. What should I do? I feel like that's such a dumb question.
No, it's not. And, you know,
what do I do if I'm tired? I don't know. Maybe sleep. But it's
sometimes sleep isn't enough.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
right.
I will not lie. I mean, there is no one thing that is the magic panacea for fixing well-being, right? But if someone were to force me to say something, I would say sleep. It impacts mental, emotional, physical, physiological. Anyway, that question is the reason I exist.
I love that.
And I think, or what I have seen over a long time, is so many of us, we know the stereotypical things. I need to exercise. I need to go to the gym. I need to eat better. I need to lose weight. I need to stop smoking. I need to stop drinking. I need to sleep more. And those statements are fantastic, and they're a great idea, and they're big, and they're nebulous, and they're heavy, and they're hard. You know, an example that I use quite frequently, there's two. One is, you know, back in the day when you couldn't easily change a gym membership, people would go and buy a year-long gym membership and then go, right, that's bloody expensive, I need to go every day. And then they wouldn't go for like a day or two or a week, and that's it. Baby out with the bathwater, that's it. I can't do it, it's too hard.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter the other stuff because I can talk for hours. What I say to people now is the tiny, tiny little things that you actually do will always have so much more benefit than the bigger goals that we set ourselves that we don't get to. I'm going to get a massage once a month. I'm going to walk for an hour every day. I'm going to only eat vegetables. I'm going to go paleo. I'm going to, you know. So what I encourage people to do is to pay attention to things like this. So, for example, I got here and there's a beautiful patch of grass just there. And I was like, oh, that looks gorgeous. Shoes off, sat my ass down on the grass. This is delicious. You know, there's a tea that I discovered that I really like. I don't drink it very often. It's a green chai. It's delicious.
Wow. Oh, matcha.
No, like an Indian chai. Beautiful spices. You know, some people, I also love a coffee. And it's about noticing the things that you enjoy and being more cognizant of them, and noticing other things that you enjoy and trying to introduce them more. As simple as, again, if you are, like I work on campus, if I'm walking across between meetings, trying not to be all caught up in my head, but actually taking a moment to enjoy the feeling of the sun, the breeze, a lovely conversation I had that morning. They don't have to be things that take energy, and they don't have to be things that take time. But when we are constantly doing tiny little things like that fill our buckets, we're reminding ourselves of the things that light us up. And they're the things that actually have an impact. And you can do them as often as you like.
And it's such a small habit.
It's
that's
tiny.
Easily actionable as well.
The smaller the better.
I love that. Jules, the closing question on the podcast. I got two for you.
Okay.
If you could go back to your younger self with the knowledge and wisdom you have now, what would you tell yourself and why?
Looking back, there are a lot of things that I would have changed about the way that I walked my path in life, and now I wouldn't change a thing. So I think I would probably just encourage myself to continue doing the things that I was drawn to at the time. Be a good person, be kind to people, you know, do the things you're passionate about. I might maybe encourage myself to be a little kinder to myself. But then also all of that drove me to getting where I am today.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I love that answer. What is the best quote you've ever received? Or advice?
Oh, that's a great one. And this is so cliched because I'm actually not very good at quotes and things. But I do love, and I don't know where it came from, I do love the phrase, don't bother trying to be somebody else because everybody else is already taken. Oh, that, and what other people think of you is none of your damn business.
Amen.
Yeah, that.
Jules Sullivan, Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Keone. That was awesome.